Peace, love, and light, family. How's everyone doing? It's your girl, Morgan Renee Myers, tuning in with y'all on this wet Wednesday out here in North Carolina. I just wanted to get on. I ain't talked to y'all. I ain't read to y'all in a while. And I just kind of been in like a mood. You know, sometimes rain can do that to you. It just be cold and wet out and make you not want to do stuff. I was supposed to go to this event down at the Center for Visual Arts, which is downtown on Davie Street. Before you ask, I'm drinking water. Don't start, Uncle Ron. I was supposed to go to the Center for Visual Arts on Davie Street for some event. Bye. Log off. And I didn't. So, yeah. But sometimes on days like this, I just get to, thinking about my life. So I kind of feel like, I know I'm on the road to success, but there are a lot of things that I want to accomplish. There's a lot of things and gifts that God has blessed me with that I already do. So I'm just in a space where I'm trying to, what's the word? Not micromanage, but organize my life. There are different things I want to share with you all. Most of you know I run my Facebook page like a talk show. So I want to actually get on board with conducting interviews and having my website set up, because of the crochet and all of that. It's getting to a point where I just need to send people to a website because it's getting to be too much in my inbox and all of that. So yeah, so that's kind of how today has been. Just been thinking on my goals and where I'm headed in life and order and my steps and all of that. So hey boo, how you doing? Yeah, so yeah, y'all just keep me lifted. There's so I'll share some ideas with y'all. So the talk show aspect, I utilize the Facebook page for the discussions, but I want to have visual as far as recording and interviewing people, whether it be local artists, local business owners, or just people with interest in lives. TC, you can hop off my live right now. I did a Google review for the community center too, and I said I felt so welcome and loved. I tell the truth. But anyways, yes, I want to do interviews with local artists, businesses, anybody that's interested and worth sharing a story or educating somebody. I have this crochet line. I'm learning to sew. I host events. I'm an author and a poet, so it's time to get my I already have one. Where is it at? It would not be here when I need it. Hold on. I have one audiobook already out, the Celibacy Chronicles, which is on Dystopia, and I have hard copies. And this whole thing, I want to get on the road and do more speaking engagements too to teens and young women, because it's not talking about, hey Britain, it's not talking about not having sex. It's more so talking about understanding your sacred space and who you choose to share it with. And I think having a conversation about our bodies and our feelings and our emotions and lust and influences like pornography and alcohol, I think that's important to share with the youth and adults. So I would like to get more not recognition, but more. I would like to travel and talk to more audiences about that. So I said, the talk show, that, acting, hosting events, creating clothes. It's just so much that I want to do. I have skits and little web series ideas in mind. So it's just so much I want to accomplish, y'all. It's just one of me. Ugh. Y'all just keep me lifted. So that's kind of been where my head is at today. And then I want to do some things to relax. So I've been cleaning up my space so I can clear my head, so I can meditate and stuff. And then I realized, I ain't read in a while. And I ain't read to my audience in a while. So I wanted to read the intro and maybe the first chapter of this book called No Disrespect by Sister Souljah. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She was an awesome author, activist, and just a brilliant mind. And that's really all I need to say. So I'm going to just hop into it. And I might download this and upload it onto my YouTube, which if you are not following, it is Moremey, M-O-R-M-E-Y. M-O-R-E-M-Y. Lord, I don't even know how to spell my brand name. Morgan Renee Myers, M-O-R-E-M-Y. You can find me, I think it's just Morgan Myers though, on YouTube. I'm going to post the link to it. But yeah, so when I read, right, I be liking to read, and this was before I became an author. I be liking to read the first page. I be liking to read where it was published and they little copyright message. I like to read the table of contents, especially if it's a book where I can skip around, but just so I can, know the names of what I'm about to get intrigued in. So I'm gonna start off with a note to my readers, and it's a certain segment in here that I want to memorize. Poem, please. So this is how it starts off. No disrespect by Sister Souljah. I hope to have a vocal voice like this in my writing one day. Note to my readers. I never said I was an angel, nor am I innocent or holy like the Virgin Mary. What I am is natural and serious and as sensitive as an open nerve on an ice cube. I'm a young black sister with an unselfish heart who overdosed on love long ago. My closest friends consider me soft-spoken. Others say I have a deadly tongue. And while it's true that I have a spicy attitude like most of the ghetto girls I know, I back it up with a quick, precise, and knowledgeable mind. See, so many of us just be wanting to run our mouth and be smart and have attitude, don't know nothing. You gotta have a quick mind to back that smart mouth up, honey. My memory runs way back, and I'm inclined to remind people of the things they like most to forget. My brothers and sisters born into the confusion of North America who emerge into positions of leadership do so less because we're saints in the purported European sense, and more so because we have an intense ability to feel in the African sense. We feel not only for ourselves, but for the entire African family. This is true. I want to share a story, not for accolades, but to piggyback on that. I was thinking, like, if we live more village minded and more communally as a melanated people, we would get so much further along in life. Like, I had a homegirl the other day. She had an issue going on with her tire. I had the free time to go help and assist. I had to pick up her brother and help them find a tire location, all this and that. And we found one, and she's like, well, how are we going to pay for the tire? And I'm like, all right, I got you. So, because I've had my tire blown out on me before in a whole nother city. I've had to, like, get whole lug nuts repaired. I've had, situations in my life where people have really come to my rescue and really invested in me. And so it was $30. So I, made sure she got the tire. She was good. She was squared away. And when I thought about it, I've been thinking on it the past few days. I'm like, one, I'm blessed that I had the ability to be able to do that. But two, like, I felt like it was my car. Like, I don't want to see my sister with her flat tire and her brother both are using a car and have kids that they need to transport. And I just felt like that's what village mindedness is. Like, I truly live and think that way. And I think that if we all did, we would be less selfish, we would be less consumed with our own worries and drama, and we'd be able to be accessible and available for others when we need help. It wouldn't be such a big deal. So that part just reminded me of that. We feel not only for ourselves, but for our African family. We feel our people's pains, their torture, their joy, and their happiness. We feel the spirit of our ancestors who challenge us to be more than what white society gives us as standards and limitations. So everything I believe is said to be extreme. Yet none of my critics can deny that conditions for African people in America and throughout the world are extreme. No matter how backward and negative the mainstream view and image of black people, I feel compelled to reshape that image and explore our many positive angles because I love my own people. Perhaps this is because I've been blessed with spiritual African eyes at a time when most Africans have had their eyes poked out. I see the beauty and talent in my people in all areas of life. Our potential is infinite. I humbly thank God for this vision because I've seen African people, young and old, overlook themselves for the span of a lifetime. I've seen beautiful, original, deep tar men whose appearance and spirit resonate with and represent the power of God feel small in the presence of frail, pale, spiritual midgets. I've seen big-eyed, hyperactive black children sit side by side in classrooms with white children who felt superior because they had a greater ability to sit still. Meanwhile, the African child had a greater amount of energy that, if loved and shaped, could have led this European world out of its cold, twisted, and bellicose behavior. So, like most ghetto girls who haven't yet turned into money-hungry, heartless bitches by a godless, money-centered world, I have a problem. I love hard. Maybe too hard. Or maybe it's too hard for people without structure. Structure in the sense of knowing what African womanhood is. What does it mean? What is it supposed to do to you and for you? How do you judge a man, an African man? Then again, what is an African man? What is the criteria? What is a man supposed to do? What is his relationship to his family? What is family? That's a good question. What is family? Is it a group of people who watch television together? Or is it a group of people who are allowed to yell at and ridicule one another, wake up the next morning and pretend that it never happened? How often does this happen in our families, y'all? My God. Is a family supposed to have a function in society? But hell, who knows what society is? Is society a group of people who go to work all day for pennies so they can eat and be healthy enough to go to work tomorrow? While we neglect and sometimes even refuse to talk about all these obvious but crucial issues, young black women and men wander around in stupidity and ignorance, glorify stupidity, all dressed up in Nike sportswear and sneakers. The result? When uninformed young African males and females grow up, we become uninformed black adults who engage in relationships which love is war. At the root of our confusion is a condition and mentality we all have passed down to us. It is a mentality that functions with or without our permission on both the conscious and subconscious level. We don't discuss this problem, though. It is a problem rooted in a forbidden topic. The forbidden topic is slavery and the behavioral, mental, spiritual, and money problems it created. You know, the little episode in history that only lasted 5.5 centuries, which only means 550 years, which only represents 22 generations of black folks. Sisters sold away from sisters, brothers sold away from brothers, who wives separated from husbands, many of them raped by white men who denied fathering racially mixed babies. The African languages were illegal to speak. Reading was illegal to learn. Writing was illegal to. African gods were illegal to worship. African ceremonies were illegal to perform. African beliefs and values were life-threatening to practice. Blacks were not paid for their work. Fighting against these conditions, verbally, physically, or legally, could be punished by death. When you hear it broken down like that, you really see like how much trauma and turmoil really came to the African life. Like, that's crazy. Like, you are taken out of your environment. You're not allowed to worship how you were worshiping. You're not allowed to have your own husband or wife. Your women are being forced to have babies by white men that are raping them and still loving and raising their children, and then having those children stripped from them and sold. And, like, that's traumatic. And we still have not really gotten over any of that, whether you believe it or not. Loving one another meant a long life of unending pain and grief. African unity was shattered, and the capacity for collective organization rendered dysfunctional. This is why even today, most black folks find it hard to stick together. Even the ones who yell African unity the loudest find it difficult to rid themselves of an acquired inner self-hatred. This goes hand in hand with a deep-seated jealousy of one another. Almost all African folk in America find slavery a hard thing to discuss. Many avoid the subject and insist that that was then, now is now. They seem to believe that we are still feeling it. Its overwhelming effects. The racism is not still a powerful system and force in our lives. I think she meant to say we are not feeling. Seem to believe that we are not still feeling its overwhelming effects. That racism is not still a powerful system and force in our lives. But, of course, slavery's consequences still affect us. That is why, to this very minute, we have such difficulty relating to one another. It is why there is a shortage today of strong, viable black men in America. Before slavery, we as African people had understanding and answers for most of life's basic questions. Our lives, beliefs, values, and rules were deeply rooted and clearly understood and respected by our communities. We celebrated life and encouraged and loved one another. We had strong families, schools, organizations, and nations. We governed ourselves and had well-functioning economies, conducted trade, enjoyed sports, and took part in meaningful entertainment. We lived side by side with other Africans who spoke many languages and honored various traditions. We were not without problems, of course, but we managed to work them out among ourselves. During and after slavery, most of us Africans were stripped of the knowledge to answer even the simple questions of life. A lot of the blacks we call educated are so European in their ideas, approaches, and actions that they can no longer talk to their own people. Their proposed solutions to our problems are not accepted because they are alien to our adapted culture and traditions. A few of our people make a serious attempt to live a true African lifestyle, but often become so different from what blacks have been taught is normal that the majority of our people still cannot understand them, what they are saying, or what they are proposing. Excuse me. African lifestyle have often become so different from what blacks have been taught is normal that the majority of our people still cannot understand them, what they are saying, or what they are proposing we do to handle the most basic issues of life like relationships, finance, and community. On the other hand, many of our people have no desire to learn the African way because the African way has been misunderstood, misrepresented, and poorly packaged by both black and white people in America. Our old African way of life is not therefore considered a successful, meaningful, or profitable way of living. Our balanced and positive African way of thinking and living, therefore, was pressured, beaten, raped, murdered, and legislated out of the majority of us and banished from memory. But Harriet Tubman was different. She was a bad black soldier who remembered one of the most basic African beliefs, that I means we. That if one is not saved, we are all are not saved. That if life is not fair and balanced, tragedy will fall on all our houses. She must have had African spiritual eyes, because after she got free, she went back for everybody else. She could have just chilled in the north, built a white house with a white picket fence, got a light-skinned husband, and died with her fingertips in a jar of skin lightening cream. But she didn't. She marched her big black ass through the woods 1,000 miles, half in the dark, and went back and got her African brothers and sisters. And she didn't just extend a warm hand and a warm smile. She didn't tell them the dream of integration and milk and honey on the other side. She knocked on the door of slave cabins in the middle of the night with her gun cocked and said, "It's time for us to go." And when the scared, whipped, and psychologically emasculated black men and women shook with fear, refusing to go, she understood their state of mind and still put her guns to their heads and said, "Either you come with me tonight, or you die right here tonight. It's freedom or death." Oh, but was this love or was it violence? Was this democracy or the radical ravings of an egotistical terrorist? Should the slaves have had the right to vote on the matter, or should they have yielded to force? It is with this kind of spirit and that kind of love that I live my life and offer this book, which deals with the African man and woman in America and our ability to relate to and love one another in healthy, life-giving relationships. I'm especially concerned with the African female in America, the ghetto girl who nobody ever tells the definition of womanhood or manhood for that matter. So she slips in and out of relationships, getting chopped up psychologically, spiritually, and sometimes even physically. She has been taught very little about what structure and family really means. Learning as she goes through each experience, her life is a collage of mistakes, scars, and smiles. Maybe when she's 28 or so, and I mean just maybe, she figures out what being a woman really means. I'm 28. I'm trying to get there. But she won't tell anybody because nobody told her. Like a worn out shoe, she throws on the polish and won't ever admit to the dumb shit she did because it's far too embarrassing. She can't believe she was so stupid. So she quietly hides the abortions, the stab wounds, and lies about the men she's had. She puts a band-aid over the broken pieces of her heart, puts Revlon on everything else, and faces the world like perfume on shit with a fake smile and a false sense of security. But Souljah won't hide. I won't hide because the Bible says to whom much is given, much is expected. And I already told you I was blessed with spiritual eyes. To hide would be too costly. The cycles of pain that come to young women and men from not knowing will simply continue as usual. Plus, I finally figured out what takes many a lifetime to discover. I figured out to love myself, to understand my value and my power, to please God. I must add to the good in the world and not the evil. This understanding makes me willing to handle the embarrassment of telling on myself. By exposing my experiences and the experiences of many people around me, I hope and pray that many African men and women will gain an understanding of love and life, and they will have a chance to save themselves the pain of ignorance. I hope they will be able to avoid making the same mistakes, especially our youth, who are our most precious souls. By showing you myself and my friends who come from various backgrounds, privileged and underprivileged, parents will see the real lives that their children must prepare for. Too many parents have no idea what their daughters are doing and little concern for what their sons are doing. Too many parents assume that if a youth does well in school, or she also does well in the social area of girlfriends, boyfriends, and relationships, too many parents keep secrets unaware of that silence teaches children nothing. Too many parents avoid looking at the way they have raised their children to fail, to be destined to repeat the same old mistakes. This is a work of nonfiction. All the stories in this book are based on reality, conversations held years ago, also are freely recreated, their essence is as true as human memory will permit. The names, as well as certain details, have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty, and to avoid embarrassing anyone other than myself. The important thing is not who these people are, but the circumstances that each person deals with. Although these chapters are often explicit, graphic, scary, and sexual, it is critical for parents, sisters, brothers, teachers, counselors, public and urban policy developers, preachers, and politicians to know that I have written the truth about today's relationships. This is what we're up against. Anyway, I have no apologies, at least not to any of you, only to God. I intend no disrespect. I love that intro because it really gives you a breakdown of like who she is, what she's about, and I just resonated with it so much with my platform, being that I like to create the uncomfortable yet necessary conversations surrounding sex, communicating, and relationships. And I've read this book before, but I'm definitely gonna have to refresh myself for the rest of the chapters. Just that intro alone just puts me in mind of how similar we think or like to pretty much put the what they call it, put the elephant in the room, to put the hot topics on the table, on the burner, so that we can get to the root of things, so that we can talk about things, because we're out here creating life, having sex, having relationships, but if we never talk about it or share our experiences or give our youth a heads up of what to look forward to, how they gonna know? They gonna have to learn by trial and error like we did, which they're always gonna have to do. Everybody have to make their own mistakes, but there's nothing wrong with being able to create these uncomfortable but necessary conversations up front. So I appreciate those of you who tuned in, and thank you for all your support, and I will tune in with y'all soon. Peace, love, and light.